experience plus reflection maximizes results. Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Michael Mojo, founder of Mojo Human Performance Institute, where we focus on mindset, business, and lifestyle hacking for driven mofos. The reason why I do these episodes is that most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them. All right, let's talk about this amazing little quote or this amazing paragraph that I read last night. I was just lying in bed, chilling, just reading my book before I was about to go to sleep, and I came across this little paragraph or this couple of little sentences. I guess you could call it a paragraph. As you can tell, I wasn't a major in English or in English classes, but it says here, experience alone will not make us wiser. When we repeat a mistake, experience only reminds us that we made the same mistake before. But experience plus reflection will grant us insight, and insight helps us to grow and change. Now, these are two key areas that most people struggle with. Most people that I see or that I come across are afraid to make mistakes. They're afraid to fail. So therefore, they don't keep trying different things. That then stops them from getting the experience that they need in order to progress and in order to grow. So if you have a fear of failure, a fear of criticism, other people judging you, other people putting you down, all of those types of things, and you're afraid to do things, which then gives you the experience and the learnings that are needed in order to progress and grow, then you're not going to get the results that you want in life and you're not going to progress. The other thing that happens is that most people in this busy society are just running flat out all day long. So from the second that they wake up, when the alarm goes off and they shit their pants because it scares the fuck out of them, then they jump out of bed, they run in the shower, they run downstairs, they get the kids ready, they pack the lunches, they run out the door, then they get caught in traffic and they're listening to the radio. Oh, hopefully you're listening to this podcast. Then you get to work and you're busy all day and you're worried about what everyone else is doing and what's going on. Get home at nighttime, chuck on your clothes, run to the gym, get back from the gym, cook dinner, whatever you do, right? This is how most people live. And then by the time they climb into bed at nighttime, they're exhausted. There is normally a lack of reflection, and that lack of reflection causes a lack of self-awareness. When you have a lack of reflection time and a lack of self-awareness, it is very hard to create change. And a lot of people that I see do the same or have the same mistakes over and over and over again is normally because they've had a lack of experience or a lack of self-reflection and self-awareness. And I'm on the phone every week with people, sometimes 10 people, sometimes hundreds of people. And I will hear people complain, bitch, moan, whinge, whine. And then when it comes to making a different decision, they then go back to what they've always done, normally because they lack self-awareness. I've had plenty of people who say, my life's shit, I hate my life, everything's gone crap, everything's falling apart. And then you go, right, what you need to do is you need to make a change. And it might be doing some coaching with me. It might be coming to one of our events. It might be downloading a program. Whoop, there goes off a reminder. It's something different. Now, sometimes I'll tell people that we're not the right person for them and they're better off going and doing someone else's events or going and doing something different, or they might even start by reading a book or whatever. But what will happen then is sometimes people will then go, oh, it's not that bad. Yeah, I need to think. And you watch their tone shift really, really quickly and their story shift from everything's falling apart, everything's horrific to it's not that bad. And it can change within like a 3-minute block. That's someone who is really, really, really lacking self-awareness. And that normally comes from a lack of self-reflection time. So this week, I would highly recommend that you take a little bit of time and self-reflect. I personally love using a journal, and I've mentioned this plenty of times in past episodes. I love using a journal and I just write down what I'm thinking. So instead of having my thoughts run through my head, I just write them down on paper and then I go back and I analyze them, and I use the tools that I teach at my events in order to neutralize emotional patterns or mental patterns that are causing me chaos. I just balance them back out. Or I might write down thoughts and ideas that I have. I might write down quotes that I've come up with or come across. Just things that consistently get things out of my mind and down on paper, because it's easy to understand when it's not all caught up in your head. And most people are so stressed out that their brain is chaotic, and then they try to use their chaotic brain in order to try and solve the problems when the brain is really their problem in the first place, and they're trying to use their brain, which is already chaotic, to solve the problem that they have, which then just creates more chaos. I see this happen a lot, even with our events. People come and they go, oh yeah, instead of writing stuff down, I just try to figure it all out in my head. When you have a chaotic mind, you're essentially going to create more chaos by trying to solve a problem by not writing it down. Okay, you're using chaos to try and combat chaos. It's not going to work very effectively. Every now and again it might. Some people love thinking and they love overthinking. And so they just sit there caught up in their head the whole time. Their whole day is just caught up in their fucking head going around in circles because they keep trying to solve a problem using the same problem that created it in the first place, which is their mindset. My recommendation is get it out on paper, write it down, and then from there, try to analyze it. Don't analyze it in your own mind. So I love using a journal. Also, a journal is a great way of self-reflecting. So most nights before I go to bed, I ask myself these two questions. What worked well today? What can I improve upon? Sometimes I'll write down, what did I do well today? And what am I grateful for today? Other days I will write, what are the problems that I've had today, or what are my stresses? And then I will go through and analyze them and go, well, what can I do differently? How can I make a better decision tomorrow? And I will start to self-analyze those stresses or those frustrations that I've had throughout my day in order to help me progress and in order to grow. I think a journal is one of the best things that people can use. And some of the greatest achievers on the planet have used journals for hundreds, if not thousands of years. They've documented and recorded their thoughts and their ideas. Now, I know that there are a lot of people who are probably listening to this podcast who are thinking, I might not have time for that, or it seems like a good idea, and you'll use it for 2 to 3 days and then you'll forget about it. That's completely normal. It took me years of starting and stopping, and I'd forget about it for months, and then I'd end up stressed out and I'd end up in chaos, and then I'd pick up the journal again. And then what I realized was that the more that I used the journal, the better that I felt. The more that I used the journal, the more self-aware I became. The more I used the journal, the more I was able to break through problems and also to analyze and assess them more effectively. The more I used the journal, the more I was able to track great thought processes and great ideas. And some of the frameworks that I've created for events have just been written down in my journals. So I would highly recommend to just use one. And you don't have to buy a journal, just buy a blank page workbook. I'll show you my little journal here. There it is there. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see me showing you my journal. But essentially, it's just a small little lined notebook, and I just use that. I like to keep them, so I get one that's sort of got a nice binding on it. It feels like leather, but it's not leather bound. But I keep them. I've kept every journal that I've had for probably the last 15 years. And sometimes I go back up. They're up in top of my bookshelf. If you're on YouTube and you're watching now, if you're not on YouTube, by the way, please make sure you go and subscribe to the YouTube channel because I chuck up extra trainings. But up in that top corner, there it is over there. Up there, you can see there all my journals. So that whole bookshelf is just dedicated to keeping my old journals. And every now and again, probably once a year, I go back and I grab a bunch of journals down and I just look over them. And I see how far my thought processes have progressed. And it really blows my mind at the difference in my mindset from even a couple of years ago to right now. And so it's really cool to track that. I mean, a lot of people don't do that, but I can go back through and see achievements that I've made. I've gone through, I can see, just different thought processes, different thinking patterns, different ways that I've made decisions, different frameworks that I've created that have been outdated now. And so it's really, really cool to go back and reflect. But I highly recommend you do that because the more self-aware you are, the more you can change. So Driven Mofos, if you haven't already done so, please remember to subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you're on. Just hit that subscribe button. That way you'll get updates daily. I try to do these episodes every day. In fact, I don't think I've missed a podcast now for about 130 or so episodes. I can't remember how many we're up to, but I haven't missed one yet. My goal is to keep these going and see if I can hit 1,000 straight. So please make sure you subscribe because I am sharing them every day. Also, in the next week, just book out a little bit of time to reflect, whether it's an hour, whether it's 2 hours, or whether you do like I do and spend about half an hour a night just having a little bit of self-reflection time, if you can do that, because it will make a massive difference. Also, you need to break those patterns if you've got any fear of judgment, any fear of criticism, any fear of what other people think, trying to people please. If you have any of those patterns, you need to break them. You can go and try other events. If not, or you've tried other events, or if you don't know what to do, you can come to my Thrive Time event because we'll get in there and we'll start to break some of those patterns down so that you won't be held back by the fear of judgment, the fear of criticism, or worrying about what other people think, or trying to live up to other people's expectations, because those things are absolutely futile. And what they will do is they will stop you from taking action. They will stop you from making mistakes. And when you don't make mistakes, it just means that you don't have the experiences and the wisdom in order to get to the next level. And so those who tend to hold themselves back the most by fear of making mistakes or fear of judgment or fear of criticism normally hold themselves back in life massively. So my recommendation is either come along to my event or find some other way, some other coach or something like that in order to break those patterns. I know I used to have them years ago and it held me back so much. In fact, I recorded a 12-disc audio program and that 12-disc audio program took me 6 months to make. Now I could probably do it in a day. And it's just because I was so scared that I wouldn't meet other people's expectations and that it wouldn't be good enough, that I kept deleting them. I would record them. I would put it off. I would go and watch TV for 4 days straight. Then I'd beat the shit out of myself and feel like crap and feel guilty because I knew I had to get them done. Yet I didn't do them. And so I had all these vicious mental and emotional patterns just from trying to avoid the fear of judgment and the fear of criticism. Essentially, I was self-sabotaging my own results and causing procrastination patterns just because I feared criticism, I feared judgment, and I feared that they wouldn't be good enough. I feared that they wouldn't meet other people's expectations. But it stopped me from learning. That's why I love this podcast, because I can just get on here and talk about whatever I feel like and I get to hone skills. Is every podcast amazing? Probably not. Is every podcast the best thing that I've ever created? Definitely not. But what I do know is that every day it leads me closer to being a little bit better. And so that's the main thing that I'm looking for, is just being a little bit better every day and trying to improve consistently and just improve my speaking skills, improve my communication skills, improve the way that I do things. And hopefully over time, I will get better at those things. Do I fear criticism and judgment and that it won't be good enough? Yeah, maybe a little bit. But at the same time, I also know that if I worry about that, I will stop myself from doing the things that I love to do in life, and I would also stop myself from getting better. So break that pattern. Also, just spend a little bit of time each day, if not each week, just having a little bit of self-awareness time or a bit of self-reflection time, because it will make a massive result in your life. Anyway, Driven Mofos, if you haven't already done so, please remember to jump across to our Facebook group. It's a free Facebook group called No BS Business Hacks for Driven Mofos. It's essentially a business group where we help business owners grow and scale their businesses with just different tools, techniques. Every month we run a different topic, everything from marketing to sales to mindset. Also, if you're not a business owner, but you also want to learn more about some of the stuff that I talk about on this podcast, please feel free to jump in there. It's not just for business owners, it's for driven people, but the topics are heavily business related. But I do pop a lot of mindset stuff in there. I answer a lot of questions from the community also. So please feel free to jump in there and check out that podcast. Anyway, have a great day, Driven Mofos. Keep living with Mojo and keep pushing yourself harder to overcome your own obstacles, your own barriers, and just be the best that you can be each and every day. Have a great day, Driven Mofos.